Hey y'all! So today I'm going to be doing a video that I've been wanting to do for quite a while, and that is a new tag that I've created called the Ideal Book Tag. Now, I did check on YouTube and I saw that a couple years ago a tag circulated called the Perfect Book Tag, which is why this is not called the Perfect Book Tag. But when I saw the questions, there were some I liked and some I didn't, and so I just decided to make my own. Basically, there are 10 questions and one bonus question that just ask about various aspects of your ideal book if you were to construct it yourself. And then after answering a question, you pick a book or a couple books on your shelf that match your answer to that question. This doesn't have to match like your answers to every single question, just whatever answer you gave to that specific question. And this will make a little bit more sense once you get to the bonus question, so I will just go ahead and jump right into it. Question number 1 is, how many pages long is your ideal book? For me, I really like long books. I've realized that some of my favorite books tend to fall somewhere between 550 pages and 650 pages, so somewhere around that page length I think is perfect for me. For example, my absolute favorite Harry Potter book, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, is 651 pages long, which is right at the top end of that. However, it is right in that range. My favorite book in the Pendragon series, which is The Pilgrims of Rain, book 8, clocks in right at 547, so it's right at the low end of that range. And Clockwork Princess, which was my favorite book that I read last year, clocks in at 568 pages. Question number 2 is, what genre is your ideal book? And if applicable, does it take place on Earth or in some other universe? For me, my absolute ideal genre for a book is fantasy and dystopian combined. They're my two favorite genres, and when they combine together, it's just so epic. I just love seeing fantastical elements within a really corrupt government, and I think it's just so awesomely cool. And since it is a dystopian, I think I would want it to take place on Earth, so like urban fantasy and a dystopian mixed. One of my favorite fantasy dystopians is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This takes place in a dystopian London, and it is just wonderful. I would kind of consider Ready Player One to be a fantasy dystopian. There aren't any fantastical elements in the real world, however, within the Oasis there are some fantastical elements. Question number 3 is your ideal book a standalone or is it part of a series? And if series, how many books are in that series, whether that be duology, trilogy, or a longer series? For me, I would definitely have to go with a series. I like standalones, but not my thing. And I would definitely say a longer series, maybe 7 or 10 books. I like getting really familiar with characters and spending a lot of time with them and learning the world. I just like long series, so maybe 7 or 10 books. And if it wasn't already really obvious which of my books match up with this, Harry Potter has 7 books, Pendragon has 10. And those are 2 of my favorite series. Question number 4 is, in your ideal book, is the main character male or female, and what is he or she like? And honestly, I don't know. I know that that is so dumb because I wrote this question, but I don't know. Half of me wants to say that I want the main character to be female so that she can just be this kick-butt, awesome main female character. And the other half of me says that there aren't enough male main characters in young adult. So, I don't know. Honestly, the more important thing is the personality of the main character. I would want the main character to be really snarky and sarcastic and witty and really intelligent. I think it'd also be awesome if that character had some sort of like musical ability and like to read, but that's kind of just because those are traits that I also have and enjoy. But yeah, I think the most important things to me are that the character is sarcastic, funny, and intelligent. And for me, a main character that fits this really great is Sage from the Ascendance trilogy. I've read the first 2 books in this trilogy, and I'm in the process of reading the 3rd book, and I absolutely love Sage. He is so sarcastic and snarky and hilarious, and he's great. I love Sage. If you haven't read this trilogy, I would totally suggest that you pick it up because Sage is just such a cool main character, and I am willing to say right now that he is my favorite main character that I've ever read in a series. He's just so cool. Also, another couple characters that fit this that aren't main characters would be Jace from the Mortal Instruments series and Magnus Bane, also from the Mortal Instruments and the Infernal Devices. I love both of them, and they're just so sarcastic and snarky and funny, and Jace even has the love of reading and music. Question number 5 is, does your main character have a support system, or are they on their own? And for this one, I'm gonna have to go with the support system, because I think it'd be really cool for the character to be like kicking butt on their own, but I think I would want my main character to have a best friend of the opposite gender that was just a platonic friend. Like I said in the last question, I don't know what gender I would want my main character to be, but I do know that I would want my main character to have a best friend / sidekick of the opposite gender who is just a platonic friend, because I feel like there's not enough of that in YA literature. I feel like in a lot of young adult books, a guy and girl just cannot be friends. One of them has feelings for the other, or they both have feelings for each other, and they end up together, and I just want them to be platonic friends. I want my main character to have someone to lean on who is just a close platonic friend. So an example of this would be like Harry and Hermione from the Harry Potter series, as well as Kenji and Juliet from the Shatter Me series. Question number 6 is there a romance, and if so, what type of romance? So maybe a love triangle or a really dramatic relationship. And for this one, I'm gonna have to go with maybe, but probably not. I think that if it was a series, maybe there could eventually be some sort of relationship, like kind of with Ron and Hermione, where they get close over time and they don't get together until the very end. However, honestly, I think that I would just want to leave a romance out of it, because there's too much romance. Not everything has to be romantic. Question number 7 is, obviously all of the aspects of your ideal book would be really important, but if you were to rank world building, plot, and character development from most important to you to least important to you, what would it be? For me, the most important of those is definitely world building. I don't know why, but I just really enjoy learning all about a world. I don't know how many books I've read where I'm like, this is amazing, I love all this world building, it's so awesome. And then I read a bunch of reviews from other people and they're like, this book was so slow and boring and there was so much info dumping. And I'm just sitting there like, I loved it, because I just love a lot more world building than I think most people do. When I'm sitting there getting really excited because I'm learning all about this really cool world, a lot of other people are like, hey, skip on to the action. That's just me. Second for me would have to be plot. Because honestly, even if there's a ton of amazing world building, if the plot's not great, the book is just mediocre. And obviously that means that I would put character development as the least important for me. Because honestly, I tend to not notice it most of the time. Maybe it's just that there's not a bunch of character development in the books that I read, or maybe it's just that I don't notice it. I don't know. It's not something I tend to focus on or really pay attention to. There are some series where it's really obvious, like Harry Potter and Pendragon, but that's because we get to see the main characters grow up throughout the series. So it's kind of obvious that they're going to go through some sort of character development, and the length of these series makes it kind of obvious. So since I said world building was the most important to me, I'm going to be showing you books that I think have really great world building. The first one that I have is Ready Player One. This was one of the ones that I mentioned where a lot of people were like, this book was kind of slow at the beginning, and I disagree. I loved the beginning because I loved learning all about this world. This is why I love dystopians and fantasy so much. You get to learn so much about these different systems of magic or of this different world, and it's just, I love it. World building, it's the best. Another book that I thought had really great world building was The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I mean, honestly, I would expect really great world building from a book that is this massive. And, you know, we do get it. I mean, the magic system is fully realized and it's so awesome, and the world just feels so real. I love the world building in this book. And this is yet another one where some people thought it was kind of slow because of the world building. I disagree. I disagree with all of you people. And the last book that I thought had really awesome world building was The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. And yet again, people thought that parts of this book were confusing and boring because of all the world building. I loved it. I love all the world building. I lied, that's not the last one I'm going to show. Across the Universe by Beth Revis. This series has so much awesome world building. It's just so cool. I love it. World building galore. This trilogy is great. Question number 8 is, what is the villain like? Are they pure evil, or are they maybe misguided, or do they just have some gray areas? I think that I would choose like a villain who is kind of pretending to be on the side of the protagonist. Like there's a twist as to who the villain is, like they've been hiding among the good guys all along. I also would really love a villain who is misguided, so maybe they genuinely think that they're doing the right thing rather than just, you know, trying to obtain everything and be like the ruler over everything. Like more like someone who genuinely thinks that they are doing what's right and is just completely and totally misguided and wrong. I'm really torn about whether or not I'm gonna tell y'all the villain that I have in mind for this. I don't know. Half of me really wants to because I really enjoy this villain, and half of me doesn't want to because I don't want to spoil y'all. Like, I don't even want to tell you what book has this type of villain. For this one, I'm gonna give a general example so I don't spoil y'all, and just say that it's a villain from the Across the Universe trilogy. That's all I'm gonna say. If you've read the trilogy, I think you know who this is, so I'm not gonna say any more so I don't spoil anyone for a really amazing trilogy. So now we're gonna be moving into kind of some of the concluding questions. Question number 9 is, does the main character end up with their love interest? And like I said earlier, I probably wouldn't want the main character to have love interest. However, if it was the scenario kind of like Ron and Hermione, where like they became close over the series and eventually ended up together in like the last book, yes, I would want them to end up together because, I don't know, I like that type of ending. But like I said, I think my first choice would be to not have a love interest. However, I would say that it wouldn't be like the first person to come along for the main character. Like, if the main character ended up with someone in the end, I would want it to be someone who was like there the whole time, but like wasn't the first person the main character dated. So like maybe the main character goes through like a couple relationships that don't work out and then in the end decides to be with this person that's been there the whole time. I don't know. That's just my opinion. So like I said, if the main character did have a love interest, I would want it to end up like Ron and Hermione in the Harry Potter series. So now we've gotten to question number 10, which is the last question of like the main question set. And that is the conclusion. Does anyone die? What kind of ending is it? Happy, sad, bittersweet? For this one, I'm gonna say yes, people die, but like none of the characters that I really, really love. Like maybe some of the supporting characters, whichever supporting characters I wasn't really attached to, I would be okay with dying. However, I wouldn't want the main character or like the main character's best friend or the love interest to die. But like supporting characters, I'm okay with that, just not the main character. And so I would have to go with a bittersweet ending because everything would end up okay for the main character and their best friend and the love interest, but there would definitely be people who died. And I guess the best example for this bittersweet ending would be Harry Potter, I guess. I mean, we all know that Harry Potter has a bittersweet ending and it's wonderful and we all love it, and I think this is probably kind of the way I'd want my series to end. And question number 11 is, based on the book examples you have given in this video, do you think that your ideal book is something that you've already read and that exists? Or do you think it's a book that maybe hasn't been written yet, or maybe you just haven't read yet? For me, I'm not sure. I think it would be nearly impossible for any book or series to ever trump the Harry Potter series for me. Because not only does it have the nostalgia factor, but it has just the fact that it is purely amazing. And obviously I have listed it for several of the factors in this tag. There are definitely factors about it that don't fit in with my perfect book. For example, characters die that I really loved. J.K. Rowling. However, out of the books I've read, I think it's definitely the closest to being my ideal book. Like I said, I don't think anything will ever beat Harry Potter as my favorite book or series. However, I mean, there's a possibility that my ideal book is out there. There's a possibility that there is a book out there or a book that will be written someday that hits all of those check marks that I just listed off. Okay, so that is the end of the tag, so now it's time to tag some people. I'm going to go ahead and tag anyone who has the word book or books in their username, and I'm also going to go ahead and below tag some specific people outside of that. And of course, I also tag you watching this. If you want to do this tag, I would love if you would do this tag. If you do this tag, make sure to link it down in the comments so that I can watch it, because I would really love to see everyone else's answers, because, I mean, I think this is really interesting, or else I wouldn't have created this tag. As always, I will leave a link down in the description to my blog and to my Goodreads. Please add me as a friend on Goodreads. I would love to be friends with all of you. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!